debate about the true name of Africa. Should we call it Africa, Kemet, Akbulan, Ethiopia, Nagal, or Kush? Not that type of Kush. What did the first inhabitants of Africa call that land? And was Africa really named after a white man? Have we been lied to all this time? Whenever some people refer to themselves as African, you'll have a few people that will say, well, you're not really African because if you knew the origins of the name Africa, you wouldn't call yourself that. Wow, these origins must be horrible, right? But what is the origin of the name Africa? What is the real name of that landmass known as the motherland? One commonly used explanation is that Africa was named after a Roman conqueror called Scipio Africanus. You would assume that most pro-Black or Pan-Africanists wouldn't want to be called after a European conqueror, right? But was Africa really named after a Roman general? Long story short, no. Scipio Africanus was actually born Publius Cornelius Scipio. He was named after his father of the same name, so he was technically Publius Cornelius Scipio Jr., and his mother was named Pomponia Scipio. His last name is actually just Scipio. So how did he get the name Africanus? The name Africanus was given to him after he returned from his African invasion. Africanus was his nickname. Africanus was given as a title of honor for military achievements on African soil. This is easy to fact check, simply because Publius wasn't born with the name Africanus. Just like Julius Caesar was called Julius Caesar Germanicus, because he invaded modern-day Germany, aka the victor in Germania. Marcus Ulpius Trajanus Dacicus, meaning victor in Dacia. Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus, meaning victor in Africa. So what does Africanus mean? Firstly, let's look at the suffix us. The suffix us in Latin is often added as a place name, and when placed at the end of a person's name, it means belonging to that place. For example, the gluteus maximus. We know that's your booty. Maximus means biggest, and gluteus is a set of 3 muscles, but your gluteus maximus is the largest of these muscle groups. Now, the word of is the word here, largest or biggest of those muscles or glutes. Gluteus being the place, maxim being the size, and us being the place of what we're talking about. So Scipio Africanus means Scipio of Africa. Now, Scipio wasn't actually born in Africa. He was born in Rome, Italy. But because of his invasion is why he was named of Africa. Be careful not to confuse Scipio Africanus with Leo Africanus. They are 2 completely different people. When people are referring to the Roman general, they are talking about Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus, or Scipio Africanus for short. But a lot of people will say Leo Scipio Africanus. But Leo Africanus was a Muslim born in Spain in 1494. He was born Al-Hassan ibn Muhammad Wazn al-Fazi. He later moved to Fez in Morocco. He was a humanist who wrote about his travels across Africa in a book called Description of Africa. He later changed his name to Leo Africanus after converting to Christianity. Leo Africanus meaning Leo of Africa. So there actually is no one called Leo Scipio Africanus. Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus is the Roman general, and Leo Africanus is the Andalusian Berber writer and humanist. So Africa was not named after Scipio at all. Okay, but that still doesn't tell us how the motherland got its name, or even what its real original name is. The Romans used to call Africa Africa Terra, which meant land of the Afri. The Afri were a tribe who lived in northern Africa. Afri is plural, and for the singular, it was Afer. Then you have the Greek word Afrique, which means without cold, or the Latin word aprica, meaning sunny. Now, of course, some people will say, but Angel, those are Greek and Latin words. They're not African. Yes, but they have African roots. There was a study a few years ago where scientists traced the world's 6,000 modern languages from English to Mandarin back to a single language spoken in Africa over 50,000 years ago. So these words do indeed have African foundations and roots. Greek and Latin have Egyptian linguistic influences. The name Africa is actually of African origins, from the Egyptian word Afru-Ika. The name Afru-Ika was in existence long before the name Africa or Africanus. According to linguistic specialists, the term Afru-Ika also means motherland. The oldest of the African languages still survives today in East Africa. It is called Irakwu. They also refer to Africa as Afru-Ika. Some linguists point out that both Hebrew and Arabic are dialects of ancient Kemetic languages. For the Gala people of Ethiopia, the word Apraka means sunny. Now here's my conclusion. There are an estimated 3,000 tribes in Africa, all with different languages and dialects. They will all call the motherland something different. The first people in Ethiopia may have called the land that they stood on one thing, which would have been